Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode. In today's video, following the recent trade made between the Clippers and Cavs, sending James Harden to the Cavs for Darius Garland and a second-round pick, not only did this bring new talks for the Cavs after getting a future Hall of Famer who is currently averaging 25, 5, and 8, but it also raised questions for the Clippers as they also traded Ivica Zubac and even listened to offers for Kawhi, basically making it seem like the team is preparing to begin a rebuild and start young. So today, we will discuss how much Harden helps the Cavs make it to their first finals under the Donovan Mitchell era and whatever the Clippers are doing with their franchise. But before we get into the video, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't. Turn on those notifications to stay tuned for more content and comment who you think won this trade. Now, fellas, how much do you think James Harden will help the Cavs finally make it to a finals after failing to meet expectations the past 3 seasons with Donovan Mitchell? And what do you think the Clippers are doing after basically showing they are in a rebuild mode despite going on a 19-6 run over the last 25 games when it looked like the season was over early?
I'm going to keep this first question very, very brief because I'm curious as to which element you guys want to focus on. I think that the Los Angeles Clippers conversation is a little bit more nuanced, but this trade for James Harden to me means absolutely nothing. Currently, the Cleveland Cavaliers are ranked 4th in the Eastern Conference. And last 10 games, they've won 9 of their last 10 games. I don't care. I don't care about any of that. I don't care about James Harden being traded to this team. Ladies and gentlemen, why does this shit happens every single time when James Harden gets traded? Every single time the team, they get some semblance of success. They win some games. James Harden is smiling. He's happy. He's out there doing hoo-ha with Travis Scott. It looks great. It looks fantastic. But when we get to the postseason, which is what is really important, everybody is talking about, can this team get to the finals? No, this team cannot get to the finals. For one, James Harden has shown us no inclination that he can perform in the postseason. If you go to the dictionary, if you go to the Webster's dictionary and you look up a playoff dropper, the image is going to be James Harden. It's going to be James Harden and it's going to be Paul George. It's going to be one of those guys. But James Harden has never been a playoff performer. Never. He hasn't been a playoff performer going back to when he was with Oklahoma City. Because what we've seen from James Harden is it doesn't matter if he's the first option, the second option, the third option. When it gets tight, he's going to fold. He's going to fold like a cheap 10. Like a cheap 10. And my thing is, it would be different if James Harden he was dropping, but he was shooting like 6 of 18, 7 of 22, 9 of 30. In his playoff performances, it's like, let's go to recent memory. In the first round, game 7 against the Denver Nuggets, 7 points, 2 of 8. Like, what type of shit is that? What type of shit is this? 2023 Eastern Conference semifinals, game 7 against Boston Celtics, 9 points, 3 of 11. What is this shit? It's like disengagement. It's like he decides to quit on the team when the going gets tough. No, bro, absolutely not, man. I don't even know why people were getting their hopes up about this stuff. I don't understand it. Not even get to the Donovan Mitchell element of it because, in my opinion, he's not a number one option that can get you to the finals. I think that the Detroit Pistons are better than them. The Boston Celtics, even without Tatum, I'm taking them over them. I'm taking the New York Knicks over them. And honestly, I'm probably taking the Philadelphia 76ers over them with the healthy Embiid. Let's stop it with the Cleveland Cavaliers. Let's just stop it. It's not even an interesting topic because it's one of those situations, ladies and gentlemen, where you see a book and they make the movie adaptation. We already know how the story is going to end. So why are we anticipating this scenario where the Cleveland Cavaliers somehow get to the fight? That they're not getting to the finals. Unless LeBron James is walking through that door, they're not getting to the NBA finals. They are not. So it's time to move on to something that's more intriguing, which is, my opinion, why haven't anybody been talking about the Detroit Pistons, who have been the best team? Hey, forget the Eastern Conference. The Detroit Pistons have been the best team in the NBA all season long. And nobody is talking. You're talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers, they had their moment. They had their moment to make an opportunity to maybe get to the final. They haven't been able to do it. Because Donovan Mitchell, he can put up a bunch of stats, but they have no value. They're empty calories. Donovan Mitchell, he's essentially like a piece of cake or, a cupcake or a piece of pie. Empty calories. Empty calories. Like, his stats don't do anything. So him compared with James Harden, who right now is the second option, in my opinion, their ceiling is second round. Their ceiling is second round. They're not doing anything. I am willing to bet any type of amount of money that not only will the Cleveland Cavaliers not make it to the finals, they won't make it to the conference finals. They're not going to make it. I'm willing to bet everything that I own that those 4 or 5 teams that I mentioned will get further than them. I just don't see it, man. If James Harden is your second or third option, not even talking about first option, if he's your second or third option, you cannot get to the finals because you can't depend on him. He's going to quit on you. If the series gets to a game 6 or a game 7, he will quit on you. So I'm actually angry. I'm actually very angry, very agitated, infuriated that, like, there's been no coverage over the Detroit Pistons. It had to take, Isaiah Stewart and, niggas putting hands on those Charlotte Hornet players for us to start talking about them when they've been the best team in the league the entire season. So no, not interesting in conversation. Y'all can talk about it as much as you want. I've been done with James Harden. I've been done with James Harden since his loser ass went to the Brooklyn Nets. I admit, he probably was injured, but he left Kevin Durant hanging, and then the next season he decided to quit on them and fake another injury and end up going to Philly. I've been done with James Harden. Been done with him. Now let's move on to the Los Angeles Clippers and Kawhi Leonard. I don't really know what they're doing. I think that this is what I will say. I think that what they decided was that James Harden, he's all about the bag. He's all about the money. And he wanted another contract extension. They were like, no, because we don't think that you're good enough. You're 35, 36 years of age. You're not good enough. Yes, we are winning right now. And I think that that's what's unfortunate is that Kawhi Leonard has been balling. He's been balling his ass off. But they're looking at it like Kawhi Leonard is balling and we may have to come up off of him and waste his career year with this franchise. But we're not investing in James Harden long term. We're not doing it because, like I said, we already know the outcome scenario is not going to lead to us winning a championship or even winning any significant playoff games. So why am I going to give him any bags? I'm not giving him a bag. I feel bad for Kawhi Leonard. I think they just need to let him go. It's about time for them to demolish whatever they built. I think that Steve Ballmer has done a pretty shitty job owning and operating a team. Yes, he's a fantastic business person, but that doesn't mean he has basketball knowledge. And I think that that's what people are kind of getting too caught up in, is if a billionaire throws a bunch of bread at an organization, that automatically means that team is going to be successful. No, you kind of do need to know how to operate a basketball team. And Steve Ballmer has shown us no indication that he knows how to operate a basketball team. That's kind of where I'm at, man. I know I kept it relatively brief with those two topics, but they're topics that are pretty basic. They're basic to comprehend. James Harden is a choker and a loser that's going to quit on the team. The Clippers don't know what they're doing. And they haven't known what to do for probably the past 30, 40 years. So what are we even talking about? It's like, the video could almost be over at this point.
Yeah, I've been surprised in what the Clippers have been doing. Now, I was kind of a component of this shit isn't going to work. When they were doing the whole old head, come to LA, I think the walls kind of fell off the place when the whole CP3 debacle happened. And you saw how toxic it was in the environment, and there needed to be change. Literally, there needed to be change. I think that's why they're doing this. James Harden, he does the whole, James Harden, he saves every trade deadline with the whole, a couple years back, y'all remember the whole Daryl Morey situation, which was freaking hilarious, where he went to China and was saying, screw Daryl Morey pretty much. I would never play for a Daryl Morey team. I don't know what happened over there, but, it was freaking hilarious. But this is, in my opinion, it's a nothing burger. I don't think it really helps either teams. I mean, you can say it helped the Cavs, but not really in the fact that James Harden's going to help their offense. But I mean, I think this roster has kind of peaked out last year. I think last season was kind of their opportunity to actually win a championship. They won 60 plus games, had a really great offense. Darius Garland was one of the best offensive engines that we've ever seen. And they fizzled out in the playoffs. And, that's kind of been a recurring theme throughout this whole Donovan Mitchell era. Fizzling out in the playoffs. I don't think he's good enough to get the job done. And I don't think James Harden is going to change either of that. So they kind of have to start first. And apparently Donovan Mitchell, there was a report that came out of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland didn't really see eye to eye together. I mean, I don't really know if I believe that. I mean, when I when I had seen them play, it was like they always like they had like a buddy relationship, but maybe that's just like optics. Maybe it's actually different than actually what's going on in the actual locker room. But I mean, it seemed really different than what I was seeing on television. So that's that. Now the LA Clippers, it's going to be hard to move off of Kawhi Leonard. I mean, the Kawhi Leonard's been playing really, really great ball for them, and he does seem like Steve Ballmer kind of has a boner for Kawhi Leonard, and the fact that Kawhi Leonard. I mean, y'all remember what happened with those trees? Like Kawhi Leonard, he's very picky, man. He's very, very picky. So, I mean, I feel like they're going to keep him. I just have a feeling Kawhi Leonard isn't really going anywhere. The fact that they shipped off CP3 was like, man, that whole debacle. Like, we made a video about it. It was just really, really bad. You could tell ownership was really bad. Steve Ballmer kind of had an issue with that, and Ty Lue, I mean, I don't really know. And a couple years later, a couple years ago, I was saying Ty Lue was a really phenomenal coach, but I'm kind of coming back on that now. Like, I'm not really that sure anymore. He has had some puzzling things come out, these last couple seasons. So that was that. And then traded Zubac. Like the Zubac thing, I really didn't get. Zubac was kind of the bright spot last season. I thought Zubac and James Harden were the only reason they was in the playoffs last year. Only reason they was in the playoffs. And if you want to bring up Norman Powell, but he kind of went ghost on them in the playoffs. And that's why I really didn't trip last season when James Harden obviously dropped. Like everybody saw him dropping. Like everybody saw that shit coming. Like, but when he had that game against Golden State, I was like, okay, like I'll be fine if he drops up in the playoffs. Other people can pick up his slack, and people could not pick up his slack. So at this point, we know James Harden is as a player. I look forward to seeing what the Cleveland Cavaliers can do with that. It's going to be interesting seeing him in that style of offense. It's not too different than what he was actually running. He's going to be ball centric on the ball a lot, so that's that. But otherwise, it was kind of like a lose-lose situation. But it was like did really any team get better in this? And I feel like that's one of the worst trades in my opinion. Like where as a fan, you're pondering if any team got better. It was kind of like a nothing burger.
Yeah, man. To go ahead and be quite frankly with you, this Cavs finals run, yeah, it's not happening. They already haven't did it, in these past 2 seasons. Yeah, I get it. Last season, some of those guys were out. Darius Garland was out in that series, but yeah, man, it's over. Like Bardo was saying, Donovan Mitchell, he puts up, nice numbers, but it doesn't lead to winning. Even this season, Donovan Mitchell has to score like 35 plus points for them to win. They have a winning record when he scores 35 plus points. And it's not a really good formula of winning. And when you pair that up with James Harden, who's a known playoff dropper, in Game 7 against the Nuggets, has 7 points, 8 shots. And I believe he has like over 100 games in his, very long playoff career where he's shot less than 5 field goals, in a game. And when you're supposed to be the one that's at most the first option, at least the second option, that's really bad. And, that's not going to lead to you winning a championship. Ever since, Golden State in 2019, the brother has been afraid of shooting the ball in the playoffs, man. I don't know what it's about in these big games, but yeah, he shot away from it a lot. Now, honestly, I don't really know how long he wants to stay in Cleveland, because so far, James Harden, ever since leaving the Rockets, wherever he's been there for only like 2 years. Brooklyn, he didn't want to go there, but he went there anyways, got traded, and then he left. Some of that probably had to do with the influence of, the Kyrie thing and all that breaking down. Then Philly, went to Philly, didn't have the success there, and then he left as well. Then they tried to bring all the LA boys to the Clippers and try to have some Cinderella story where, these LA natives were going to win a championship. But when you pair that with, 2 playoff droppers and, Kawhi Leonard, who was battling injuries, and Russ, who wasn't in his prime, it wasn't really going to happen. But yeah, man, the Cavs, they're not making it far, honestly. Probably best going second round. They should at least win the first round. I'll probably be surprised even if they make it to the Eastern Conference Final. I think it's probably going to be Detroit and either Philly, depending on the seeding, or maybe the Knicks or Boston, because Boston, they've been handling their situation really well, being without Jason Tatum. But yeah, man, the Cavs, might as well kiss that final stuff goodbye, because that's not happening. But the Clippers situation, man, I don't really know where all this came from. They just decided after going on that, nice little streak, after, at the beginning of the season, we were looking like, man, well, the Clippers, they're done already. But then, Tyloo went to say, I wouldn't be surprised if we went on like a 17-game win streak or something like that. They went 17-3. And then, all of a sudden, we're just hearing talks about, the Clippers, they've been in, long talks with the Cavs of trading James Harden for Darius Garland. And that was like, oh, well, how the world do y'all trade for Darius Garland, for one who's still recovering from a toe injury that he's been recovering from since last season? And, you just trade Harden, and then you just trade Zubac as well. And that was like, okay, so y'all are clearly making it known that y'all are trying to go into a rebuild mode, even though y'all probably aren't going to come off Kawhi, for one, because he's the one bringing tickets in because they need somebody to bring tickets in. And for two, a lot of teams, even though Kawhi Leonard is giving great production, he has a major red flag, and that's, his injury history. So, and his knees. So, that's also going to keep Kawhi there as well. So I don't really know what's going on with management and ownership. At this point, they're just really OKC's little helpers, because, they're just helping them constantly get, lottery picks. And, at first, at the beginning of the season, everybody was like, please, Clippers, I need y'all to win. So, the Thunder don't get a lottery pick. But, Clippers management said, nah, we're going to let them get that lottery pick. So I don't know what's going on with the Clippers organization. I guess they really are cursed, even though, they just had poor management going on. I don't know. Yeah, like I said, I don't know what's going on with the Clippers. Kawhi, I guess he's just gonna enjoy the rest of his career dropping, 30 burgers. The Cavs, yeah, that's not happening. Maybe if LeBron decides to really have that farewell tour next season and sign a 1-year deal, go back to Cleveland, and add to the storybooks and win y'all ring. Maybe the Cavs win a ring then, but from now, the Cavs, y'all are probably second round at best. Clippers, y'all are just going to be in purgatory for forever, because, ownership doesn't know how to run the team properly. And that's all it is to it.